Welcome to Founders Corner. This show is all about sharing impactful lessons for entrepreneurs from brilliant minds who have lived and learned through the startup journey and built amazing companies. This podcast is from Omidyar Network's emerging technology team, who invest in early-stage startups that aim to build great for-profit businesses that can change the world and create impact at scale. On today's show, we have Scott Heiferman, the CEO and co-founder of Meetup, the platform all about bringing people together in the real world. Scott shares the origin story of Meetup and the inspiration that took hold of him after 9/11. He also talks about what it's like to move into later-stage startup territory and the company's focus on marketing and brand today. Scott shares regrets and mistakes that he's made that you can learn from, and details on how the company began a focus on creating a more diverse workforce and executive team. Now let's get started with host and Omidyar Network investing partner, Rob Veris.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Founders Corner. We are here on a beautiful day in New York City, and I'm happy to be joined by Scott Heiferman, CEO and founder of Meetup. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you, Rob.
Maybe we can start off. I think many people are familiar with Meetup, but for those that might not be, that have been hiding under a rock, can you describe what Meetup is?
Yeah. So Meetup brings people together in thousands of cities every day to do the things they want to do. We connect people who might not otherwise get connected in a city, and these meetups are transformative to people's lives. You know, there's this kind of transformative power of community. So you go to meetups around their career, they go around their creative pursuits, they go to meetups around fitness and outdoors and everything under the sun that is important to them.
And can you tell a little bit about how you got the idea for Meetup?
I mean, the backstory is that I was living actually 2 blocks from where we are right now on the morning of 9/11 in 2001, and just before that second plane hit, I went to the roof of my building. Again, we're talking just a stone's throw from where we are right now, and stood up on that roof. More neighbors kind of came up on that roof with me, and we all saw the towers go down. And this is basically the first time I had talked to my neighbors in this apartment building. And there was this kind of awakening about the importance, the power of local community. And I gathered the co-founders and said, how do we design a way to bring people together in real life, and especially if the future is going to be filled with people more glued to screens.
So Reid Hoffman has a quote about, if you're not embarrassed by the first version of your product, then you've taken too long building it. I'm not doing justice to the quote, but
yeah.
How long did you spend sort of building that first minimum viable product that you put out there?
I spent months on my own playing with the sketches and how the flow and the UX would work. But then once I brought together that core team of founders, we were just off to the races, rented a small room and locked ourselves in that room. It was just a matter of months with almost no capital to go live. And then from there we started to take off.
So you put it out there. Did you do anything sort of marketing wise to bring people to it intentionally, or did it just start to take hold sort of by itself?
I think because we did put a lot of thought into that question of what's gonna attract people, and it was this idea that, hey, all the meetups are out there, and there's this, and it's almost like a holiday for all these topics every month. We didn't do a lot of external sort of promotion, but I know every venture is different, every situation is different. We find ourselves here in 2017 at Meetup being crazy excited for the first time ever about actually going out and promoting Meetup more. I mean, honestly, I came from an era of the Googles, the eBays, the Craigslists of the world, where, frankly, organic was organic growth is everything, and almost anything else is kind of not respected.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're in an era where you see that no, actually the Lyfts, Ubers, and blah blah cars of the world, the European-based car sort of sharing network, they actually methodically think about how to take off faster in a city.
Yep.
And so I actually do regret not. I regret not paying more attention to marketing earlier.
What were some of the things that didn't go as well, or did you have any of those crisis days where you thought maybe this isn't working, or we're in trouble?
Yeah, well, all the time. I mean, we've certainly made our bold moves that have upset our base. I mean, we went from we went from free to fee, and obliterated the 90% of our activity. I mean, which is a scary moment. We stuck with it. It was one of the main sort of drivers of that tough decision, or I should say backers and supporters of that big decision, was Pierre Omidyar, who I remember the moment where I said to where we were about to pull the trigger on this going from free to fee, and I said Pierre, I'm worried that our members, our community, our users are going to have really high expectations when they're paying, and he said exactly. that again, it's like these systemic, these structures and ecosystems that are about reinforcing what the mission and the organization and aligning things properly. And so you want to it's scary when you see all that activity go away, but here we are a dozen years later, and we're much bigger than we were when we were free in terms of serving millions and millions and millions more people every month.
Yeah, I know you actually started and sold a company prior to Meetup.
A couple, yeah.
And how did that change the way you thought about what you would, your aspirations for Meetup? Mm-hmm. And were there things you took from those experiences? Were you like, I just want to start and sell another one? Or were you like, this is a longer game?
Yeah.
How did you think about it?
So I started the first online ad agency, and my co-founder here at Meetup, Brendan McGovern, was along with me in 1994, and sold it in 1999 before the dot-com bust. This is all ancient history for people listening, probably.
Some of them weren't born yet.
Yeah, exactly. But I got into online advertising 10 years too early. Now, fast forward a couple of years, right before Meetup, I started something called Photolog with a guy named Adam Seifer. And Photolog was, you can post a photo and you can see what your friends posted in a newsfeed. This is 5 years before Facebook existed. And this is before there was camera phones. Now you might say, well, that sounds like a failed startup, but actually it took off. In fact, it became the #1 website in 5 countries, bigger than Google. And we sold it. And then Facebook started to take off. So, but it was 10 years too early. It was literally Instagram 10 years too early. Now it started Meetup. I had, if there's anything I kind of, learned, I learned that like you could just be too damn early. We started Meetup 10 years too early. And all the sort of cultural signals and cultural tailwinds and where we are in the world and mobile and all says to me that instead of letting someone else take this sort of the spoils on online advertising or on photo-based social networking, we're going to be right there with it, and most importantly, we're just going to lay this solid foundation of a company that's grounded on good core values and grounded on with great management and a great team. Yeah, that's a big lesson from previous ventures, that you can just be too early.
Yeah,
and know to get out. Get out at the right time. But this is we're kind of this is the we're in this one for the long haul.
There are technological tools that we have in our pockets that maybe are more powerful and also are really useful for local stuff. How are you going to leverage all that and that sort of spirit to take Meetup to the next phase?
Well, we're not going to talk so explicitly about the roadmap here. Related but slight tangential, like kind of leadership lesson that I learned, and then we'll get to the heart of your point. That is, I find that the most important thing for sort of to try and galvanize a team and to have people do the best work of their life and to really feel the pull to get out of bed and go and run to work in the morning is when there's a shared vision, a real shared vision in an organization. To really know where that organization is going and to believe in it. And so, we've sort of evolved our vision and our roadmap through the years, always sort of staying on that North Star. But a designer here, she's now our head of design. Her name is Farah Asir. She came to me a few months ago and said, hey, a few of us have a pretty clear sense of where we're going, but I'm not sure that everyone does. And, I want to make a concept video that shows a real picture of what Meetup is going to feel like, look like, and smell like a few years from now. And I said, yeah, go for it. I didn't think it was going to be anything that important or special. Long story short, it turns out that a lot of people piled on, and it became this this kind of container for a bunch of really important visions that people had. It was one of the most important things that the company has done to drive that shared vision that everyone had. It's become, people are actually sick of watching. It's just this 3-4 minute video. But my point isn't the answer is video or the answer is this medium or that medium. The point is that whatever it takes to make it clear what the vision is. One of the best pieces of advice I've gotten was we had a board member was Bill Bradley, who was a U.S. senator, a famous basketball player. He said, you got to paint paradise. That especially if you're someone who has who has a vision for something, people who have a vision often make a mistake that they think people get it and they really don't. You probably, as an investor, Rob, get this all the time. You see these founders, people who are starting something, and they got something in their head, and they're just not. You're not really getting it like they get it. And so to really paint paradise where people can smell and see and touch what the world's going to be like when that vision is real is such an important thing to do. Anyway, so this lesson this year was, wow, we were really able to actually align all the teams in the company around just this 3-minute video and have everyone be clear that this is where we're going and how all the various things we're doing, go in that direction.
You made a big push in the last couple of years around diversity with the organization. What was the catalyst for that, and what's that transition or just that initiative been like?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there of course there's a kind of social justice and social impact angle to it, but from a purely just rational economic company builder perspective, if you have a team that and when the team is small, if you have a team where everyone looks the same, when someone comes along who's really talented and looks at your team and they don't see anyone who looks like them, they're out of there. No one, and so you can't early, and we did not do this to early enough really be aware. I mean, at the heart of it, the most talented people in the world are from whatever, come in all shapes and colors and sizes and orientations, and that's just the fact. And so we found ourselves with a leadership team that's all white guys, and basically knew that we're going to miss out on the most incredibly talented people in the world because you're just going to continue to attract the same people. You have to really get out there and insist to people that that you're welcoming them and that you want them. You can't. It's not good enough to just say, well, no one of color applied, because what's going on behind the scenes is they're looking at you and they're like, I don't want to be at a team where they're sending signals like that.
Yeah, and obviously now there are women in the executive team, and you've made some progress.
We're half or majority women on the executive team and the management and the whole management team. It's and then it's what was a negative loop becomes this positive loop.
Yeah, so I mean, we've talked about how Meetup's a somewhat unique company with how long it's been around and also the impact it's having. I think also you're a somewhat unique CEO in that you have taken it through that entire journey. And many times people leave their companies, or the company gets sold or something, and then they sort of go on to the next thing. How have you managed to adapt and stay successful in that role through what are some pretty different life cycle sort of stages?
Yeah. Well, you said the magic word right in there, Rob, which is adapt. And, we have a kind of a fellow board member, Tony Shea at Meetup, who the CEO of Zappos, who he's obsessed with complex adaptive systems, and he's pushed me to kind of really study what it's a fancy word for if things are just kind of stayed and in any living ecosystem, it dies out, as opposed to a living, breathing body or ecosystem or something. So I don't know. You have to really learn. You have to really listen. You have to really adapt. You have to really change. I mean, you can ask my people I've been working with for a long time. They'll tell you that I am far from perfect, as a CEO, but I do learn. I do listen. I do kind of grow, and I do adapt. And that's as true from the sort of early stage, and perhaps even more so now when especially if half your team is a lot younger than you, and the natural tendency as you get a little older is to become locked in your views and not as I still don't get into Snapchat, but so I'm just giving up on that I'm going to learn some things or really feel it culturally, feel it, the energy, and then also I think Jack Dorsey had an interesting point about sort of earlier versus later stage, which is you do become the editor. You're less the idea generator and less the creator, and more the editor of what's going on in the organization. And to have to be a fierce, ruthless leader, editor, but that's part of that shift from earlier to later stage.
We're all certainly excited to see the future of Meetup and where things go next. Thank you, Scott, for taking the time to chat with us today.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
That was the conversation with Rob Veris and Scott Heiferman. Thanks so much for listening, and special thanks to Scott. You can learn more about Meetup at meetup.com and follow Scott on Twitter at Heif, H-E-I-F. If you enjoyed this episode, please write a review on iTunes and let us know what you think on Twitter at Omidyar Network. Be sure to subscribe and visit our website, omidyar.com, to learn more. Thanks for listening to Founders Corner, and we'll see you next time.